The topic I am going to present today is the autoclave and ophthalmic instruments. I am Dr. Hafiz Mubashir Farooqi. I belong to Unit 2, Lahore General Hospital. Okay. Autoclave is an equipment used for sterilization of various equipment, including the ophthalmic instruments. Its name originates from the Greek. Auto stands for ultimately meaning self, and clavis meaning key, a self-locking device. What is the principle of autoclave? We know that when the water is heated in a closed container, saturated steam is produced under pressure. According to Boyle's law, when volume of the steam is kept constant, the temperature is directly proportional to pressure. So if the pressure is reduced, the water boils at a lower temperature, and if the pressure increases, the water boils at a greater temperature. So at 15 lbs pressure, 121 degrees centigrade temperature can be obtained, and the moist heat coagulates the cell proteins of the microorganism, and in this way it kills all the living entities including the spores in just 15 to 20 minutes. Hot saturated steam is an efficient means of destroying microorganisms since it penetrates rapidly and gives up its latent heat as it condenses on the cooler objects. Uh, Types of autoclaves. Usually there are two types of autoclaves: horizontal or downward displacement autoclave and the vacuum assisted autoclaves. What is the principle of horizontal autoclaves? In a horizontal or downward displacement autoclave, cold air escapes through the bottom of the chamber as steam displaces it from above. The valves should never be obstructed and the chamber must not be overfilled in order for this system to function efficiently. This type of autoclave is electrically operated and it can be fully or semi-automatic. It uses a heating element to heat up the water which produces the steam. The steam, which is lighter than air, forces the air inside the sterilization chamber to move downward. Eventually, the air moves out through the drain hole of the sterilization chamber. Once the temperature in the chamber is sufficient, the hole is automatically closed and the sterilization process is started. Here we can see that in the picture, the cold air is going downward and it finally goes to the waistline, and the water is being heated and the steam is coming in the chamber and sterilizing the load. Next is the vacuum assisted autoclave. Its principle works on steam as well as the vacuum. A vacuum autoclave is set up in a similar fashion to a negative pressure displacement unit, in that there is vacuum pump to remove air from the sterilization chamber and steam is created in a second separate chamber or unit. The process begins by the vacuum removing the air, then a pulse of steam. This type of autoclave is suitable for all types of instrument and is very versatile. Air is evacuated rapidly from the sterilizing chamber at the beginning of the cycle, creating a vacuum. So steam penetrates and sterilizes the instruments. Then a second vacuum cycle withdraws moisture after sterilization, facilitating the drying of the load. This is the simplest one, which is most commonly used. We commonly call it a vertical pressure cooker. The vertical pressure cooker has an air vent at the top which is manually closed after all the air has been evacuated, but it has a disadvantage that air may remain trapped under the steam and therefore it can cause a lower temperature to be reached, ultimately decreasing the standard of sterilization. And it also doesn't have an automatic drying cycle. So here is a brief list of instruments which can be autoclaved. Phaco handpiece can be autoclaved. Vitrectomy cutters. Usually we can sterilize the 20 gauge vitrectomy cutter which have a metal piece on the front. Cautery wires, cryoprobes, and the retinal instruments, which includes vertical and horizontal scissors, flute needles, and the and now mostly the retinal instruments are coming with the plastic tubing, so we usually use the alternative method, which is ETO sterilization. How do we check the performance of autoclave? We can physically check the instrument. Second is the chemical assessment, in which there is a tape which has lines on it. When the lines are dark after the sterilization process, it means that our sterilization is successful. Preventive maintenance, we have to clean all the filters, fill the water level of feed tank up to the maximum limit, check the accuracy of temperature gauge, conduct a general sterilization process. We should write down all the process, and clean the chamber and remove the lime scale if any. Thank you.